Alright, hello again. I'm just here today. I'm going to be working on Ahriman, which is what I decided on after my last video. I got a lot of detail work to do with him, and I'm just mixing up some browns. Now I have to do a bunch of brown on this guy. I'm not going to do them all in their own unique shade, but I'm going to try and do them all the same shade of brown. So I'm going to whip up a darker brown here. I love brown. Well, I shouldn't say I love brown. I don't like brown, but I find brown's a great color to work with because it is really, really easy to make changes to. So that's about the color I want, I think. A nice shit brown. Just gonna wash off my brush over here. Yeah, I've got to do a few things with Ahriman today. For starters, I've got to get his gloves. I've got to get all these little brown bits here. This bag I'm actually going to do tan. I'm going to do with Xandri dust. I've got to hit his base here with some white so that I can paint it. Which I'm actually going to do the same way I did this one here. The same color scheme. I'm going to hit his baubles with some contrast paint. And I'm going to get some metal on the metal bits that need metaling. So I don't know how far I'm going to get with him today. But we're starting with brown. And with my most common brushes. Two. How big two or my little two? What is this? This one is 0. This is the 2 I want right here. My 2 and my mini 0. So let's just adjust this over here so that you can see him. Let's see how this first bit looks. Do it on a bigger area first. The gun holster. That's not too bad. Yeah, brown's one of those colors I think you either really like or you really hate. You really hate certain tones of. I know myself, I absolutely despise a light brown and for more of a coffee tone. Myself, definitely in for more of a coffee tone myself. Yeah, I didn't realize until the other day how little of the detail work I'd actually done on Ahriman. So, yeah, I've got a brown, do all those brown baubles. His gloves I'm also going to do brown, but I'm going to darken it even further, and I think I'm going to mix a little bit of red through, but just a touch, and not mix it through completely. So I kind of get some red highlights. We're going to try it. We'll see what happens. Now, what else needs to go brown? You know what they say? once you paint it brown, holy fuck, good luck painting it back again. No, they don't actually say that. It's not a bad color to cover. I could have swore I had way more brown I needed to paint than just this stuff. Ah, the book cover. That's what I'm forgetting. Yeah, that book cover. Sometimes I do a lot of this where I generally have to focus up. Can we find it? Focus? Yeah, there we go. I generally just put things together and then try and paint it afterwards, and I work on the model of if I can't see it, neither can the person looking at the model. So why do I want to paint it? But then you get stuff like this where now that it's on, I have to paint it because it can be seen. But it's an absolute nightmare to paint. So sometimes even the most foolproof plans don't quite, it's a bit thick, don't always work out. But also, if you're like me, you don't want to do sub-assemblies. So, yeah, give me 1 second. And we're back. Yeah, if you're like me, you don't want to do sub-assemblies. That just kind of frustrates you. So those are your choices. Don't do sub-assemblies and deal with it, or do sub-assemblies and deal with that. So this isn't going to be the best angle for you guys. It's not even the best angle for me, if I'm being honest. In fact, what I'm going to have to do, I think, I'm going to have to come, I'm sorry guys, I'm going to have to pause and come back to you. Sorry about that, I just had to contort myself into 100 positions that were not natural and not as God intended, but with a little bit of touch-up required, I was able to brown the book. The book is browned. So next up is the gloves. Which, like I said, I'm actually going to take a bit more black. Mix in. Just keep mixing. I think that might be closer to the color I want. Yeah, I think it is. Then what I'm going to do, I'll be back in 30 seconds. just going to grab some Fiston Red. I'm not really going to mix it through. I'm just going to put it in a couple spots like that. I kind of want to see what that looks like. How that actually turned out. Which, if you don't know, is also a great use for old sprues. So that's how that's going to look. Right. Now my not super itty bitty brush. Pick up a decent amount of it. And we're going to try it. Let's see how it goes on. Seems to cover decently nice over the gold. Try and do in these intricate little areas here. Before I move to the bigger spots. This is not something I would have done when I started out, which is just make a random paint concoction, but here we are, doing it live. Here we are, doing it live. Yeah, if you ever want to know how something looks on a model, that is something I recommend, is just holding on to your old sprues and testing it out on them. I know when eventually I'll need to remix my Thousand Suns blue, I'm holding on to sprues that I based in the same color. So that even when I think I've got it, and before I go and do it, I put it on the sprue, and then that will tell me for sure before I go and put it on a model. Also, sometimes you may see me use brushes that are kind of undersized for what I'm doing, which is fair. They are indeed undersized for what I want them to do. But, and he's gone, and it's all gone. Okay, Ahriman is okay. We're good. No tears today. Oh my god, I almost shit my pants. Whew, almost crapped my pants there, I guess. Yeah, you might see me using brushes that are really undersized for what I'm trying to do. And I think it's because a lot of the times, especially when we're new, and if you're like me and you're not going to invest in really nice brushes, you've probably got a couple cheap sets. A lot of the times you get the smaller ones. You don't necessarily get the bigger ones. You don't necessarily get every size, and every size you get doesn't always work the same. So instead of constantly switching brushes or having to get different sets or paying for a more expensive set, I just do a little bit of extra work with my little ones. Now, it trades out because I know that these brushes aren't going to last as long now, because I'm doubling up their duty. But it's all about how you look at those kind of things, right? Alright, sorry you couldn't see that very well. But it was hard to do his fingies and still be able to look at the camera. And I still gotta do a little spot in his fingies there. A couple. Right in there, in between his fingies. There we go. We got it. Luckily, his other hand is much easier. Yeah. So, for this video, what are we at for time? 18 minutes, okay. I think I'm going to get his fingies done. No, I didn't have any. His gloves actually are pretty good. They might have done really well with the texture paint. Not texture paint, sorry, a contrast paint. But I didn't have any contrast paints that were in the kind of colors I was looking for. And I wasn't going to go out and buy one just for one model to do his gloves. Right? So, this is what we're doing. But I think what I'm going to do is after I get this done, I think I'm going to do the lead belcher bits that I want to do. And then I think we're going to call it for today. And I might even call it sooner than that. I might pause and come back to this later. I got a touch of a headache. No, I am going to do the lead belcher bits because I have something else I want to test and I'm going to show you guys. Because I think it's fun. I think it's fun. I'm going to touch that up a little bit later. When I get to redoing some of the gold. I do have a couple other gold touch-ups to do. And now that it's dried a little more, I can see where I've got to get some extra coverage in over here. There we go. All right, that's his gloves. He is now gloved. I was kind of hoping the red would come through a bit more. And you just kind of see some red streaks, but not really. C'est la vie. C'est la vie. All right. Let's get a bit of belcher out. Won't need very much. Enough there. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of Stormhost as well. Way about there. This is what I want to try out. So I said my my grade 8s were going to be doing model painting. They were going to be painting some Stormcast Eternals. And I'm not willing to pay for Citadel model holders for all of them. So I 3D printed this. So I 3D printed this. I'm just going to test it out to see if it works, and if it doesn't, then I think there's a couple other ones to try. But I liked this one. Oh my god, Zero Brush, come to me. There we go. I like this one because it's just got the screw. Instead of having bands or anything like that, I figured it'd be a little bit easier for the kids to work with. Than the stuff we normally work with. So I'm just gonna put my lead belcher up here on these. I think I even could go up a brush size for these, and I think I might. That's awesome. There's my one. There's my one. And there's my one. Oh yeah, there we go. That's the right brush size. Being a little bit of a hypocrite after I just talked about not changing brush sizes all the time, but sometimes it just makes sense. especially since I think most of the lead belcher I'll be able to put on with this brush. I won't need to have. Ooh, why is that focusing? I wonder if it's the paint throwing it off. There we go. I don't think I'm going to have different brushes to get all the lead belchers on. So, yeah. So I do all of these guys. They're ball things. On my actual rubrics, I left them 1,000 Suns blue. That's the way I like them. But I can't possess myself to do it with Ahriman. I like trying to keep them a little bit closer to box art. So that's what they're going to be. They're going to be the kind of silvery color that they are on his box art. And then the jets, when I get to them, I do them with ink paint and a crappy brush. I use a black ink and I just jam it up in there. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. So yeah, I figured this might be a little easier for them. Plus, it can be laid down like that. It holds decently nice. I still prefer my Citadel. The only thing I was actually worried about was it wasn't really going to grip the model super well. And they were going to knock them out and break them. And then I was going to have to yell at them. But it actually seems to do pretty okay. It does actually seem to do pretty okay at holding the model. So they might be safe. They may be safe. But yeah, all their stuff arrived the other day. So I've got it all now. Now it's just to wait till next year to start it. And that should be pretty fun. It should be. Or it'll be horrific agony. I don't know. I'm assuming it's going to be fun. I'm hoping it's going to be fun. Now, his wires, I think I'm going to do it. Oh, wrong color. His wires, I think I'm actually going to do with black instead of lead belcher. Usually I do them with lead belcher, but I think on Ahriman I'm going to do them black. Just because he's going to have a decent amount of silver going on. Compared to some of the other guys. So I might like to try something a little different. But he's not going to have a ton of black, which all my other rubrics and all that do. They do have a decent amount of black going on. So I don't mind brightening them up with their wires. He isn't going to have that same benefit. He's going to be pretty shiny and sparkly and spectacular. Some might even call him a fabulous. All right. What's our time at? 30 minutes. All right, this is where we're going to call this in a bit here. I'm just going to storm host silver a couple things. The other side of his staff here. Got a little storm host on that. How do I want to do his staff? I think I know the answer. I think I know the answer, but I don't want to say. Yeah, that is the answer. And I wonder if I'm going to do these storm host or not. Not. I actually like the look of it more all gold. But what I will do is storm host the eyes. Because I'm going to hit those with some contrast paints. I'm going to hit these eyes with a bit of contrast next day. So just going to give them a bit of storm host because I'm hoping to kind of show through a bit more glittery. Okay. Now, on to the fun part. Which is doing the little metal sections of his staff. All right. Sorry I'm not talking as much as I normally do, but I'm doing a bit more thinking work here. Sometimes that happens when you try and figure stuff out as you go. You get a little caught up in what you're doing in the moment. We're just gonna work this in where it needs to be. Okay. We're getting there. Last section. This one's going to be a bit of a doozy. What I'm going to do is attempt to only storm host the bottom section of this staff. And having done this for exactly 30 seconds, I fully support you leaving your own Ahriman staff completely one color. Heck, I support you leaving your Ahriman one color. Yeah. Okay, I'll do a little bit of a gold touch up here later. But for the most part, it went on pretty good. So, just double check that there's nothing else left that I need to storm host before I move off for the day. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that too. Oh, actually, you know what though? I'm gonna do. I gotta do this lock, but I am gonna do it in the lead belcher. Okay. So here he is so far. He's a little bit more done now. So now I gotta finish some of the other detail work. This has to get boned. That has to be Xandri dust. You know what? I know I said we were done, but I lied. I'm gonna do the bladed edge of his staff too. And a thin coat of storm silver. And I'm not gonna get any on his cloak. Yeah. Interestingly enough, I find that this paint dries really quickly. And it's not one that I've applied my drying solution to. So that's just a fun fact for you. And that's going to require a little touch-up. Now if I just lick the paint up. Alright, now I'm just going to take a little bit on the tip and try. I'll reach in here. Just get a little bit of it. Yeah, that inside does not have to be perfect. It's not really ever going to be seen. All right, now we're done. For today, anyway. It's a little bit more menacing, I think. Next time I come back to him, I gotta pick up some Retributor here to do the back of his collar. I gotta finish washing this stuff. Like I said, this has to be boned. I'm not gonna bone this. I was originally, but I thought about it and I actually like it gold. Gotta do a couple things fabric. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. All the additional YouTube begging. Have a good day. Stay safe. Don't do drugs.